Essential lore. That's right. Midnight, just around the corner, boys. I mean, this thing's going to hit early 2026. I'm excited for it. You're excited for it. We're all excited for it. And there's a Samiccus giveaway for it. So all that is exciting. That giveaway ends this Friday, by the way. But all you got to do is look into the lore right now. Because the lore itself should excite you much more than, say, the War Within did, where we didn't know it was going. We're going into the core way, the Whore way, the Haranir. I mean, there's a bunch of weird shit going on in Midnight, or in the War Within, but Midnight seems like a much more grounded story. We got elves, we got trolls, we got the Sunwell, a lot of cool stuff going on in Midnight. So let's get a quick 20-minute review of what the Midnight lore is all about here from Bellular. Let's jump right in.
Sponsored by Squarespace. Getting a handle on Midnight Story has been a bit of a challenge, even for us pros. The reveal was chaotic, and with it, lots of stories slipped into the background, and a lot of people were kind of confused. And I don't blame any of you, not least because much of what we were told seemed to be missing. There were no words in the big reunification of elven tribes, no word in the return of Ashara, but after delving into every aspect of the reveal,
He's right about the elven tribe stuff. I expected by now that we would have heard something from Tyrande. Or something. Like the Night Elves seem kind of quiet right now, right? And they're supposed to be part of this whole thing. We've heard from the Void Elves a bit here and there. We know they're pretty attached to the Blood Elves and all that. But besides them, I mean, Suramar Elves, what are the Nighthold guys? What the fuck are they called again? They're not Night Elves. Whatever they are, the cracked out, they love their freaking magic. They haven't made an appearance either. So what's going on with them? Oh yeah, and didn't Lorthamar get married? Didn't Lorthamar marry the leader of them? All those Nighthold elves, the Nightborn? Yes. So, like, even that, we haven't really seen much about it. She wasn't even in the cinematic. Where the hell was she? Her husband was out fighting the Void, and she was just dicking around and Suramar? Anyways, yeah, I'm sure we'll hear more stories about the elves, but I was very interested in the fact that Tyrande didn't even make an appearance at all in any of this yet.
every interview that happened and connecting all of the dots, well, we've pretty much discovered all there is to discover. So today, you're going to know all you need to know about the story of Midnight. So here's the big stuff. Silvermoon. It's revamped, yes, but it's also ground zero for Xal'atath's attack in Azeroth. If you're wondering why, I'll get to that shortly. But there's more. We're going back to Xalaman, and whether the Blood Elves like it or not, we're teaming up with the native forest trolls. But then we go deeper to Harendar, which is the home of the Haranir. We thought their goddess was Azeroth or Elune, but what we're finding is more nuanced and a bit darker. And all of that will then lead us to the Void Scar, a whole new planet run by a race of hyper-intelligent void beings, a race that Xal'atath was once a member of. And trust me, that's kind of exciting. A while ago, we saw Xal'atath described as a survivor from the depths of time. I have a feeling that in Voidscar, we'll finally know what that means. So, Midnight is packed with lore, but it's all leading to one thing, that we somehow will lose, or that something bad will happen, and that will force us into the last Titan, and it will force us into that expansion by forcing the return of the Titans.
I think that's like a guarantee at this point. I mean, Blizzard themselves said they were inspired by the Infinity Saga, and what happened in the second movie of the Infinity Saga? We took an L. Got Thanos snapped. So I definitely think we're going to take an L here at some point, maybe towards not till the end of Midnight, but we're going to take the loss. Titans arrive. I don't know. They're supposed to help us in some way, but we realize actually they're dicks too. They're the bad guys too. And then we defeat them as well. And then I don't know what happens after that. WoW 2, who knows what's going on after that. But definitely I think this Midnight expansion, whether it starts or ends, we're taking a loss at some point.
Strap in, because today we're finally explaining Midnight's story. Whenever people send me things, first impressions count. And that's where today's sponsor, Squarespace, can let you make that strong first impression.
There it is.
So you actually get through to the people you want to get through to.
I wonder how well Squarespace pays. They don't want me to add for them.
And that's all because of
too much of a
new way
DJ.
that you build a site. And I'll walk you through it. So first, Blueprint guides you through making your own template. And this really is amazing. It helps you select what pages you want, what fonts are best, what color palette
chat's
to
so
use.
nice today.
And
Chat's so nice.
of course, doing the hard work of curating all of those and making it all just work, they keep you right. And that also extends to them adding new features. You can sell digital and physical products, there's courses, there's bookings for physical and digital, and there's even native video. Yes, native, not just an embed. which basically just means it looks and feels way better and way more pro. Now, it's all designed to work together, and rather than be a bunch of cobbled together features with inconsistent design, it's actually seamless and professional.
Wonderful.
So your customers actually have a great first impression, which is what you want. And whenever they convert,
You think the hub uses
you have
Squarespace?
seamless buying with Squarespace payments.
Probably
They
not.
really are the
It's not
complete
that.
package.
Their site's not that
Everything you need.
dynamic.
And by following my link, squarespace.com/BallylerGaming, you get to build your site for free. And then when you're ready to send it live, my code BallylerGaming gets you 10% off your first purchase of a site or domain.
There it is.
Let's set the scene. Xal'atath's key to victory is the Dark Heart, an ancient amulet created by Neltharion, who you may know as Deathwing. It was uncovered by Iridikron, and it was handed to Xal'atath. She then pumped it full of Dalaran's arcane energy, Beladar's energy, and whatever else she could find. But then the Shadowguard Ethereals, who she had been working with, stole it. They stole it from underneath her, and they used it as a catalyst to bring back Dimensius.
Hey, you guys remember the Dark Heart? How that whole thing started? Who started that shit? Iridikron. Also somebody completely missing from the expansions so far. I don't think Iridikron's going to make any appearance even at midnight. He's probably waiting for the last Titan. I mean, his whole plan, we all know, is he's waiting for the Titans to show up so he can try to defeat them, do whatever his plan is to destroy them. And whether his plan's going to work or not, I guess we'll find out. But he was completely absent this expansion. Probably will be for midnight, too.
This was bad for Xal'atath, but true to form, she turned it to her advantage. That led to the events of patch 11.2, and with those concluded, she now has the most powerful being of the Void locked up in her little Pokeball, and nothing stands in her way to victory. And if you want to know what she does next, all you need to do is listen to her final words to Illyria.
But our little game is over. When next we meet, I will take everything you love.
From our perspective watching on, we then cut
Silvermoon?
straight to Midnight's cinematic reveal, where the skies had opened and Void is raining down. Lorthamar, the regent, basically the lord of the Blood Elves, and Liadrin are standing at Silvermoon's defense, but Xal'atath, loaded with so much power, appears to be unstoppable. That is, until the light decides that Void can't have all the fun and portals in the Army of the Light. We've been told, by the way, that it's the Army of the Light, but check out this preview of the Voidspire raid, where we see the Armies of the Light.
Armies of the Light. Ooh, so we could still have the, what's it called? The Arathi showing up, maybe. Maybe they're part of the Army of the Light. I still wonder, like, where this army was, whether they were just gathered or where they were waiting all together, or maybe they were separated and the Light just gathered them all and ported them over. Interesting, though. We do know the Light has the ability to port people around. We've seen it before. I mean, literally, Hallowfall, all those people ended up in that giant Hallowfall cavern because the Light ported them out of a storm. They were on a journey across the ocean from the Arathi Empire that exists on the other side of the world, and then they got caught in some kind of crazy storm. That's the story. And then all of a sudden, bam, flash of light, they got ported into that cavern that they currently sit in now with the giant crystals hanging from the ceiling. So, yeah, porting people around, evidently, power that the Light has.
Plural, not just the people we met in Legion. Essentially,
Vindicar
it's the
too,
collective armies of the Light gathering from across Azeroth for one final stand. That means the Tauren Paladins, that means the Priests, it means the Blood Knights, it means Hallowfall Arathi, Paladins from Stormwind, everyone. And in these images, we see the clash between Light and Void that we've all been waiting for. But that's just the beginning.
Badass moment.
That's what happens initially in Midnight. Midnight, of course, is far larger and will have far deeper implications.
Pre-watched, yeah.
Across the world, Void is resurgent, and we need to strike back. That means it's time to clean up the home front. And that's Silvermoon. For the Alliance, this will be their first time stepping into one of Azeroth's most ancient cities.
I will say something, though, and it's not a spoiler, but, I mean, it kind of is in that there's no way Silvermoon's going to get destroyed. There's no way. I mean, imagine Blizzard put all this dev power into rebuilding Silvermoon from the ground up, because that's essentially what they did. This is not like a revamp. This is a full rebuild of the city. It's a completely new dynamic city built from the ground. Imagine they built it, and then midway through expansion, Sunwell explodes, and that's the end of that entire region. No, it's not. There's no way. Silvermoon will survive whatever happens to the Sunwell. What happens around the Sunwell could get destroyed, but the city of Silvermoon, there's no way this thing's going to get wrecked. at all. Oh, what the hell? I muted this? How did I fucking mute it?
Most ancient cities, but for the Horde, they'll be returning to somewhere totally transformed. Fel has been banished from the city, but dark factions in Murder Row still do dabble in the substance that nearly destroyed their people. Remember, this is not the first time that the Sunwell has been threatened. Arthas killed 90% of Quel'Thalas' population on his march to resurrect Quel'Thalas. He destroyed the Sunwell, he severed the High Elves' connection to its arcane energy. Without its power, they lost their immortality, they began to wither as a race. Just look at the withered Blood Elves, basically addicts cut off from their supply. And when all of this happened, there were two solutions. First, the Fel, offered by their prince, Quel'Thalas. He, as the leader who had to deal with all of these problems...
Prince Quel'Thalas, we left him in the Shadowlands. We freed him, right? So what happens to him now? I wonder if he makes it back in any way in this expansion. Right? I mean, he's a big blood elf, right? He's a big deal. I mean, he literally, the reason why the blood elves have green eyes is because of him. So I wonder if crack elves. I wonder if he makes a comeback in any way going forward here. Yeah, he's dead. Well, yeah, he's dead. But I mean, maybe come back from the Shadowlands. I don't know. Maybe he finds a way back.
Problems post Arthas. Well, he ended up transforming his people into the Blood Elves, and he followed Illidan to Outland. But he left many behind, and he sent them knowledge of the Fel to feed their magical addiction. That's basically the Blood Elves that you play as if you start one in World of Warcraft. But of course, Quel'Thalas went too deep, and eventually we had to put him down at Tempest Keep. Then, of course, he re-emerged, and we fought him for the final time at Sunwell Plateau in one of the dungeons. But the Fel was not the only solution to their problem. In steps Lady Liadrin, a priestess of the light. She had suffered wars with the Amani trolls, the orcs in the Second War, and of course Arthas' invasion. And because of that, she became devout and incredibly ruthless. So, when the Blood Elves on Outland sent back a captured Naru called Muur, she, along with others, abused its power to form the Order of Blood Knights. That's why Blood Elves were able to be paladins in the Burning Crusade. But again, they drank too deep, and eventually we have to put down Muur as a Void Naru. That's actually why she felt unworthy of the light in the Midnight Cinematic, because she had abused...
She had tortured a Naru to death. Yeah, it was kind of a big deal back then. I guess Prophet Velen came and redeemed him for doing that shit. But yeah, that was some dark stuff, and if you played a Blood Elf Paladin back then, they were completely separate from what your typical Paladins were in the game at that time. Much darker, basically not being gifted to use the light, but instead forcing the light to be used by them. It was actually some cool lore, but I guess since then it's changed, since Prophet Velen arrived.
Its power. But in a way, the light doesn't care. It
the Blood
knows
Knights.
that the Sunwell cannot fall. It has its own agenda. And back in the Burning Crusade, the Prophet Velen stepped in and he cleansed the Sunwell using the core of Muur, and that freed the Blood Elves of the Fel and gave them back the Sunwell as their arcane font of power.
Right.
But it wasn't the same Sunwell, because now it was infused with the light from that Naru, from the Prophet Velen, and because it is infused with the light, it is vulnerable to void corruption, because light and void are sides of the same coin. It's been 20 years since that stuff happened, and Quel'Thalas has now by and large healed from those wounds. The scourged Dreadscar is gone. The Ghostlands are once again part of the Eversong Woods, but one place remains haunted, Windrunner Spire, and we even know one of the ghosts haunting it, Sylvanas Windrunner.
Ooh.
Yep, I said the S word, and because of that, we need to talk about family. Look around Dornegal and you'll see Silver Covenant Rangers. That's a sure sign the Verisa Windrunner is keeping tabs on events. That, of course, is Verisa, the sister of Illyria, who we've seen a lot in the War Within, and also sister of Sylvanas. And the sister we'll focus on for now is actually Sylvanas, because after betraying the Horde and launching us into the Shadowlands, she had her soul healed by Uther the Lightbringer.
Shadowlands lore. What are you gonna do? It's a thing.
Now, she told us that the Horde were as much her family as the Windrunners, but that she had to save some souls in the Maw for redemption. Essentially, Sylvanas knew she had to serve out her penance, and that is when she last left the narrative.
Yeah, I'm assuming that she's finished serving her time in the Maw by the time midnight comes around. Her whole thing was she was supposed to like free the elven, what's it called? The night elves, the night elf wisps that had been sent to the mall incorrectly. She was supposed to free them so they can go to the actual afterlife realm they're supposed to go to, and these were all sent here during the burning of Teldrassil. So she's supposed to free them all, and that's her servitude. Once that's over, she's supposed to come back.
It seems that perhaps
She'll
her
be back.
redemption will be complete, or that as a part of that journey, she
my
will
favorite
be doing
expansion.
something in this expansion, because it has been confirmed that she will be back. So that's 2 Windrunner sisters covered. Verisa, whose Silver Covenant Rangers have been keeping tabs of us in Dornogal, and of course Sylvanas. As for Illyria, well, Xal'atath has always been one step ahead, but it's leading to something important. A moment where Illyria will have to control the void within her or fall to it. I told you we were going to lose this expansion, or at least I think we're going to lose. And that's because we were essentially told that when the World Soul Saga was announced. Because whatever happens, it's going to be bad enough to force the Titans to return to Azeroth. And that moment could very much be a face-off between Xal'atath and Illyria. But she's not the only member of the family taking center stage.
And by the way, we've seen what happens when Illyria falls to the void completely. It's the horrific visions. The horrific vision of Stormwind is an image of Illyria killing her husband, taking her son and submitting him to, giving him away to N'Zoth in the void. All this shit happens in that horrific vision, and that's what's supposed to happen if Illyria actually completely falls to the void. At least it's one of the paths that could happen. You know, the void just has multiple truths. You don't know which one's the real story.
Also, Arator, her son. During the leveling campaign, we actually join him as we travel across the world, discovering what it means to be a paladin, and it doesn't all go well. Now, we've been told that this expansion will explore extremes, and we know that this campaign will go to 2 places. First, Light's Hope Chapel, which is the epitome of why the light is awesome. You know, brave souls standing against darkness, the few against the many. But he's also going to go to Stratholme, where he'll discover that as long as you believe hard enough, you can use the light to destroy innocent people.
Good old
like
purging.
Perhaps Arthas did in the Culling, perhaps like the Scarlet Crusade would continue to do. But they're not the only family who'll be central to Midnight. There's another one. You may not know that Zul'jin actually had grandchildren.
Right.
Who the hell
The
is
Amani.
Zul'jin, you may?
Just FYI, I called the Amani being part of this expansion a long time ago. I also called Silvermoon. Can we just get some verification in the chat? Samiccus been saying this for like over a year now, that Silvermoon was going to be the hub city and that the Amani trolls were going to make a return to the story. Let's just get some confirmation here. Those things were said. Samiccus be prophetic these days, man. Really. I mean, it's great. And I was happy to see all this actually happen because I think that Amani trolls are badass and I want to see more Amani troll lore. Sam works for Blizzard confirmed. Yeah, right.
Let me explain this stuff. So, trolls and elves have had a very ancient beef, and it's about to become a big problem because the Amani are facing a void invasion, but this time it's from the Twilight Hammer cult, which essentially tells us the stakes in the Zalaman zone. The Twilights worship the old gods, and one of their Cathraxi generals is actually buried beneath Zalaman. There's backstory that even ties Xal'atath to some of this stuff. Now, the Amani killed him, and they built their city over his corpse, but we all know that these Cathraxi don't stay dead, and the Twilight's Hammer will likely want to revive him. But that's not the only problem these trolls will face. The Amani Loa have disappeared, the Loa being essentially their gods, kind of wild spirits.
Right.
And they will need our help to figure out where they've gone.
I wonder who else can help us, you know, with the whole realm of the Loa and everything. Maybe another Loa we know with a really cool voice actor. You guys think Bwansamdi is going to make a comeback this expansion? I hope so, man. Because Bwansamdi's a badass. I enjoyed him a lot. He was probably one of the coolest things to come out of BFA. And I'm hoping that, we're getting more into troll lore again. Hey, some Loa stuff. Oh, hey, Bwansamdi, what's going on? You want to make a deal? Yeah, it'd be great if he actually returns. Zul'jin returning? Yeah, he probably will in spirit. But we've seen him before in the game in a spirit form. I'm sure he will. But maybe Zul'jin becomes a Loa. That'd be kind of cool. Maybe.
We'll need their help. Now, diving into the Loa will give us another
Zappy boy, that's right. Yeah, maybe he'll come back.
That have been hanging around since Battle for Azeroth. Like, as one example, Zul'jin being now the Loa of Kings. So we might see him back as well.
That's right. He is a Loa. He became the Loa of Kings. Yeah, he's already a Loa.
But ultimately, the tension here is that we're trying to help the Blood Elves, whilst the Blood Elves, well, deal with a deep, long-running historical hatred of trolls. Take Liadrin as an example. Her parents were murdered by the Amani trolls.
Yeah.
Lorthmar spent the majority of his career as a ranger fighting against trolls. Going back to Warcraft 2, when trolls were introduced to the setting, forest trolls were the bad guy trolls. And this is a cycle of hatred going back thousands of years, with the greatest Amani warrior in that conflict being the guy I first mentioned, Zul'jin. But Zul'jin is dead. We actually saw his sin stone in Revendreth, so yeah, he, I suppose, got punished for going a little too far. But now it's up to his grandchildren to try and save their Loa and protect what little they have left of their kingdom. But these are all surface-level mysteries. So now, let's go into the depths of Midnight. The Haranir are our new allied race, but before we unlock them...
Unfortunate. They are, unfortunately. No ethereals. No Amani trolls. No, we got the Haranir. Yeah. I'm glad for some people. Yeah, some people are happy about them. That's cool. That's fine. But I just think lore-wise, it just made more sense to give us somebody else. And maybe we'll still get them. The Amani trolls are getting a whole new model, so we could be getting them still. And then the ethereals already got their new model, so they'll be ready if they want to give us them. We'll see if it ever happens.
We're going to have to convince them that Xal'atath is actually a threat. And that might sound very strange if you weren't playing the War Within and reading all the quest text. But don't worry, we have, and it's all been set up. Orwena is the main Haranir.
I think the Naga are coming. Well, look, if we're having a uniting of elves, the Naga are technically, they were elves, right? They're just transformed into Naga. And Azshara, who was their leader, she was an elf too. So, and she's still around somewhere. So yeah, we could definitely. I don't think it'd be a shocker at all if we see the Naga make a reappearance in Midnight.
And she's actually an outsider even to her own people. And that's because, well, she chose to go and find help and, well, talk to us. Her kin didn't really like that. Essentially, she was sent visions by her goddess and sent on a mission to Khazalgar to investigate the Black Blood. This essentially is old god blood that was heavily involved in the Nerubian storyline, and of course, Xal'atath doing a lot of manipulation. This Black Blood is dangerous stuff, and as it seeped into Azeroth, it seemed to do damage. It seemed to be a threat. Now, this was the beginning of a hell of a mystery. So let me explain the mystery.
Yeah, a mystery that would never be solved in the War Within, interestingly enough. It still feels like this story got cut out. I still feel like the whole ethereal storyline was like shoehorned in, and this part of the story, which was supposed to be in the War Within, got taken out. And now we're going to kind of revisit it in Midnight. Sam, why are you acting sad? You're not even going to make any other race? Yeah, that's true. I mean, I only play human. That's true. But look, I'm not going to make anything. I'm my Blood Elf DK, the human Samiccus. That is who I am. And that will not change. But I still like to see other races added that are kind of cool.
It's quite something. At the end of the Legion expansion,
technically they're all
when
trolls,
Sargeras stabs the planet, he dislodges oceans of old god blood that had already started to flood the deep places of the earth, corrupting everything that it touched.
When did this happen? There's a sword in the
within
planet?
Is sent to
The hell?
the Unseeming, which is a realm of nightmare. You may remember, if you played the War Within, a number of world quests where you would have to enter the Unseeming, and that when you did, you found all sorts of horrible creatures. Well, as it turns out, Orwena's homeland, Harendar, was beginning to become infected by this black blood, but not in the literal way we saw in Khazalgar, rather in the way we see in the Unseeming. Now, when Orwena was infected by it, she said that the song of her goddess had become discordant, and that is the infection that we will face in Harendar.
That's not good.
These literal nightmares born of dislodged old god blood. Proper eldritch stuff.
So it sounds like this Harendar, the whole Haranir zone is going to be about old gods. Old god blood, old god stuff. Maybe some whispers from N'Zoth again. Who knows? Maybe.
And if that all seems like a bunch of words that you don't know because you haven't paid attention to the lore, you don't know it, don't worry. Basically, all you need to understand is imagine Cthulhu, humongous, Cthulhu's dead, and that Cthulhu's blood has got absolutely everywhere and is wreaking havoc. That's basically what's going on. So, we follow Orwena home, we meet her tribe, the Hararti, and we delve into the history of her people. It is, by the way, quite a history. Essentially, it goes back to one of the Titans called Aenar. And Aenar, whenever the Titans arrived in Azeroth,
That's right.
She planted a world tree. This world tree was called a loon.
I wonder where A&R is going to side with all of this in the very end, in the last Titan. Like, is there going to be a Titan split? Going to be an uprising? Because Aman'Thul is the ultimate dick, right? He's the dildo of the Titans. It should be called the last dildo. That's what the last Titan should be called, because we all know that Aman'Thul is going to be the final bad guy, most likely in that one. The whole question is, will the other Titans side with him? I mean, he pissed off, he pissed off some Titans, pulling out a world tree, doing all kinds of janky shit. Obviously, he pissed off Sargeras because Sargeras was telling him about these threats that he wouldn't listen to. So who knows where, if we actually fight all the Titans, or maybe just a few of them, and there's only one left. Maybe Sargeras is the only one left standing. There's a lot of questions there.
Here, and she planted it because she felt that it would help to cleanse the world of the old god corruption. But Aman'Thul, who is the leader of the Titan Pantheon, basically saw this tree as chaos, in the same way that the roots of a tree will crack a pavement, and he ripped it out.
Right,
He only
disorderly,
ripped out
that's what
the
he thought.
trunk. He did not notice that the roots were still there. And Elune, a goddess that appears to have ties to Aenar, well, Elune sent guardians to tend to those roots.
Yeah.
Those guardians are the Haranir.
Elune and A&R are they have a relationship. Nobody knows how or what the relationship's all about. Nobody even still knows what Elune even is yet. That's probably another mystery that we might realize in Midnight, because I'm sure we're gonna deal with the Night Elves directly at some point. I mean, there's a uniting of the elves happening, and Elune, more of her needs to be revealed about, because that's a mystery that we still don't know anything about. Now, could she stay a mystery? I kind of like it if she did, maybe. But Elune and A&R, I mean, we know, yeah, they're buddies. They've talked before. They scissored before. Like, all that stuff's gone down. Yeah, you could check the internet for that last part there. But taking care of the roots. The roots have been an important thing for a long time. Even N'Zoth himself whispered about the roots. Deeper its roots will grow. What was it? Deeper its roots will grow. Some harbinging in our coming, or something like that. Like, there's a whole thing about roots in the whispers from N'Zoth. So these things are important, and we'll learn more about them probably in Midnight.
And since then, many more world trees have been planted. The roots of those trees have went
Yeah, she's
deep.
the moon god, I
And
know,
as
but
their
we've never
roots
seen her
went deep,
before.
They began to intertwine, and that is the place where the Haranir live. For Blizzard's word on this, during interviews, they told us Harendar is where the roots intersect, but it wasn't below any one place because it's nowhere physical. It exists as a pocket realm, a bit like the Emerald Dream, but also a bit different. And at least my read on this so far is that it sort of exists in the sleeping mind of our world soul, a pocket dimension in a way. It's a bioluminescent forest, but it's one with darkness. Remember this place from the Legion expansion? It's where we
It's what they wanted Zangamarsh to be. Let's not lie, guys. Zangamarsh, Avatar, and then they kind of went back and redid it, and now it's the Haranir. That's what it is. I always loved Zangamarsh. I always thought that was a great zone when they first made it. It was a cool one.
fought Xavius. Now, this place is called the Rift of Awn, and it's this realm of utter darkness where nightmares spawn. We actually know that part of
Right, the
Harendar
nightmare.
is named the Rift of Awn. We'll almost certainly go there, and there's also a one-boss raid coming in this expansion that is known as the Dream Rift. So it seems that...
God, we don't gotta add Bald to every single lore piece in here, okay? The Rift of Bald. Ridiculous.
Perhaps the Dream Rift is where the Emerald Dream and Harendar intersect, or something along those lines. But it's a place that is spawning nightmares. Those nightmares are attacking the Haranir. It's such a threat that many chose to forsake their oaths to their goddess and to instead become what are known as Shulka and defend the realm from those nightmares. But here's the real takeaway I want you to understand from this segment, because it's really going to help make all this come together, right? So, the place is somewhat from the dreams of their goddess. But
Right.
a lot of this place is actually quite dark. There are nightmare things. There is the unseeming, which is our first hint at that. And you know what that tells me? It tells me that their goddess, perhaps Elune, perhaps Azeroth, that there is also darkness and infection
dark side.
within it.
Ooh.
All of which opens quite the question. Is it Elune who sent the Haranir to the roots? Is she the goddess? Is it Aenar, the Titan of Life? Or is it our sleeping world soul? And are we soon to fight the nightmares in Azeroth's dreams. It's pretty big stuff, honestly. Could be quite cool.
Maybe it's all three. Maybe it's all three. Maybe it's a triple scissor. I don't know. I don't know how the logistics of that would even work, but maybe.
But there's an obvious thing looming over everything. Xal'atath, and the big question, what is her next step? What the hell does she want to do? This leads me to Voidscar. It's a new planet that's been added to the Warcraft universe. Now, we only know it from the Voidstorm. It appears that we can fly through the Voidstorm to Voidscar. And while Midnight's sure to have all the history and the details, the important lore is actually stuff that we know. It has one big rule: survival of the fittest. It is a competitive place, and within it resides, and this is the big news, a race of hyper-intelligent native void creatures.
I believe this is where we're going to have an open world PvP zone in this in here too. This would be cool.
Called the Dominar. And the shocker is that Xal'atath was once a member of this race. And from the name alone, it sounds like something similar to Naru, right? Naru, Mechanar, Vindikar, Dominar. So it's a mixture of that and also domination.
Interesting.
And when we think about how the light and the void are sides of the same coin, we can basically see this as being a complete mirror. It's also the location of Xal'atath's stronghold, and it's where those huge vortexes over Silvermoon lead to. And we'll be going there in true Champion of Azeroth fashion, following Xal'atath back through the vortex and bringing the fight to her. And when we get there, we'll help the Void Elves erect singularity anchors so that the insane gravitational forces don't crush us. With that done, we'll charge into the Void Spire where Dominus Aversian directs Xal'atath's forces. We'll also refight Nexus King Salhadar there, showing us that Xal'atath can retrieve anything that she has stuffed into the Darkheart. And that brings back a very big question: Dimensius and the Sunwell, because Dimensius is in the Darkheart, and Xal'atath does appear to be bringing the Darkheart near the Sunwell. Now, we know that we're going to lose a great battle in Midnight, or that something will happen that will force the Titans back. And here's what's key for the initial narrative. We know that the final launch raid of Midnight is called the March on Quel'Thalas. That would essentially mean we will arrive to help out shortly after the cinematic. We will go through these zones. We will deal with the Dream Rift raid. We'll also deal with the Void Spire. And then, 2 or 3 weeks after, we deal with the March on Quel'Thalas. Now, this is important.
That's the end of the first season of Raid Tier, right? Yeah. So definitely this final fight is, and the cinematic itself is taking place in the final raid of this the first season.
Because Quel'Thalas is where the Sunwell resides. Now we can assume that the Void will be invading, that maybe they will actually take the Sunwell, and that perhaps we will need to march on Quel'Thalas to retake it. What will happen then? I don't exactly know, we'll just have to wait and find out, but we do know that this is just the beginning of the expansion, so whatever comes next is sure to be quite huge. And that's all the Midnight lore that's been revealed so far. There is a lot more to come.
I actually think there might be a tie-in here with Anduin, because, you know, like if they do lose the light, the Sunwell, the Blood Up Paladins will probably be like, oh, we've lost our touch with the light. How are we going to communicate with the light anymore? We've lost our ability to use it. And who's a paladin that we know who recently lost his ability to use the light and now he's found it again? It's going to be Anduin. So he could maybe reteach the elves, and there, oh, here enters Anduin. Now his part of the story happens, because him and Thrall have been doing absolutely nothing. They haven't been doing shit this entire expansion. I mean, Anduin had his little moments in the beginning, and then they've just been sitting on the sidelines. So eventually, I mean, they're going to make a return in this expansion too.
But if you want to find out why it's been a unique challenge gathering all this information,
he's a
check out
plate-wearing
this video
priest.
why Midnight's launch and reveal was so chaotic.
Nice. Yeah, we'll see how this all plays out. I will say, like, just from a base level, the storyline of Midnight seems to be in a better... It seems to be better than what The War Within was. And that's probably because, like we said, and a lot of people said this in chat too, The War Within was meant to be like the World Soul Saga story. This was supposed to be the beginning and the end of it. And then Metzen came in and he was like, no, we got to stretch this out, make it like a 3 expansion thing. So he cut off what would have been the ending in The War Within of the entire World Soul Saga, which is why this story feels so cut, and then spread it out further. So the Midnight's going to be like the first real Metzen expansion here. Looking forward to it. We'll see how good it turns out.